Hi, and welcome to another episode of Sistah Talk with Khadija. I am your host, Khadija Nelson John, and today's episode is Namaste. And our first guest is Reverend Christine Jackson Hart. Welcome to Sistah Talk.
Thank you so much.
How
Lovely
are
to be
you?
here. I'm doing great. Thank
Nice. Yes. So, we decided to come to Christine, Reverend Christine, and this is such an emotional experience to me because Reverend Christine Jackson Hart married my husband and I 3.5 years ago, and this was actually our area where we came and get our counseling. Yeah. So yes, she is really dear to us. She is really dear to us. So I don't think I saw you anytime after we got married. I think you saw my husband, but so this is we're actually catching up here. Yes. So we can't have our health and wellness series, mind, body and soul, without talking about our spirituality, and that is highly important.
True.
Yes. So I want you to share with us your journey being a spiritual person. You know what that is, so you would break that down of what being a spiritual woman is. Yeah, we'll start off with that.
Well, I grew up in a Roman Catholic home, so for me spirituality was always about the religious aspect of things. But when I reached into my early 20s, I thought something was missing, and I started a search, and I found God everywhere I was, wherever I walked, wherever I went, and I pretty much stopped going to church because I was disillusioned with religion. And then I met who I did marry, and we went to live on an estate in central Trinidad in a little cocoa house with no electricity, no running water.
Okay.
That was after Orwell. A major big thing in my life was that I went up for Miss Trinidad and Tobago at Miss Universe in El Salvador. And
that was around the time you wasn't going to church.
Oh, yeah. I was already, yeah, I mean, I still was going to church a lot, but I was still really looking for more.
Still searching, trying to understand, figure things out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Lord was very much a part of my life, and I prayed about everything.
Yes.
I mean, even about going up for a beauty competition,
Yes.
which may seem weird to people, so, because I believe that He directed my path and everything, and I was voted for by the contestants as the friendliest, so I won Miss Congeniality, or in those days they called it Miss Unity.
Yes.
That was a major part of my whole my whole walk. And then I met my husband. We got married very, very quickly, went to live in this cocoa house, and that was where I really was searching, because it was all the noise that was around as Miss Trinidad and Tobago, and a very popular one. I loved people, and I worked in a travel agency too. I also was a very dramatic person, and I used to do drama and do my own one-man comedy, singing shows and all this sort of stuff. So I was extremely popular and well-known. But when we went to live on the estate, it was down to absolute basics, and the silence. I had to learn to live with silence, and that brought up a lot of things. And God became even more so with me everywhere I went. Everything was about God. Then we went up to Canada, and then we came back to Tobago to live after having our daughter. And we were up in Speyside, and I in the most beautiful place, running an inn. I had everything you could possibly think of at my fingertips. But I went into this state again of, what's this all about? And again, I used to go down early hours of the morning, sit in the beauty of the place, talk to the Lord, and it's like, where are you? Are you really real, etc. And then two men came from away who were Christian men, had children's ministries and stuff. And this man told me about a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and told me I needed to invite him into my life, which I did. And my life was instantly transformed. And from that, though, went into doing missionary work and all sorts of different things, and pastoring churches in different places, finally coming back to Tobago after many years of being away, and here another transformation happened where it became more than just Christian religion, and more, very much again, and still, and more so, a personal relationship with the Lord, which is just all about love and grace and acceptance of people, you know, even understanding people have different religions, and even though I believe in something, I always have respected other people's beliefs. You know, I've never been one to evangelize where I will hit people on the head with Jesus Christ, because I found it off-putting for my own self, and I don't want to burn bridges. You know, if you can be Jesus to somebody without him saying a word, to me it speaks so much more volumes, and then the Lord could do what he wants with the person. And that's how the walk sort of then, it even grew into very non-traditional Christian things, you know, my look changing completely.
Well, before we get into that, because we have to get into that, right? So, when was your turning point from typical religion to relationship?
Well, it started off with the relationship from the time that man told me that in the space side, which is, I don't know, 30-something years ago, maybe or more. I can't remember. I don't even know. So
him ministering to you, you understood.
The whole thing of personal relationship meant intimacy. And that has always grown and grown and grown, where it has become more than just religious observance or laws or rules. I do believe that God, who is the creator or our source, because God is a little controversial term, you know, that source of life has ideals, obviously, just like us as a parent would, but we do not necessarily as children live up to ideals, you know, but that love is always there. And so that became my entire life, as much as I believe in the Bible and what the Bible says. You know, there's things that are subject to interpretation and subject to where something was written, how they were living. So I mean, I was always a bit of a controversial figure, you know, always.
I like that.
Well, it was hard and has been hard because I really would have preferred to fit in and belong. But I did discover one time when we were up in Canada, a big thing happened at a Bible college. My husband was going there, and I was in my own school of learning. Yeah, there was a major upset, and it was very devastating to me because I was so aware I was so different too, because I came from the Caribbean and very different.
Yes, yeah.
But that was the major thing of I will never belong to man or in anything that's man. I always will belong in Christ. And that was also a major change too. It never was about religion for me. And more so not about religion. All the years, all the different things that I've gone through, what I call this squeeze, which is what brings out the beautiful fragrance. It's the hard things of life. You know, embrace the crap, because we all need fertilizer to grow. Everything needs it. All of that has brought me into a place of I am definitely not a religious person. As I said earlier, for my own self, Jesus Christ is my life, who he is, what he's about. I would never be the same, and I hold to that. If when I die, I find out everything I believe was absolute crock, it's okay, because it got me to where I am, who I am, and I like who I am.
Yes,
I can live with who I am. Thank you.
So, seeing that you are not a religious person, what are your views on having the need to, well, let's say you have to attend church? You know, that's the big thing with Christianity today. You have to attend a church or being a church gathering every single Sunday or throughout the week. You know, what are your views about that? How do you feel about that?
You're taking me into some real controversial right away, right?
Yes.
That's okay. The reality is, church is the people. It's not a building. And Okay, well, I'm going to make my confession here. I don't go to church anymore. I don't go to the building anymore.
Okay.
I have church, I am church, I be church.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever it comes up, there are some people I still mentor because I do not pastor traditionally anymore and don't want to because it's a different season of life.
Mm-hmm.
But Paul talked about being all things to all men to win some, and my life now is that. I will not say that's for everybody because I certainly wouldn't do that, because I think it's important to be together because you get strength from people who hold to the same beliefs.
Right.
Because pretty controversial. It's not as comfortable being anywhere because I also sorry. I had my own ministry and I could then do what I believed, but not having that anymore. When I go to other places, I have to respect their beliefs, their way of doing things. And we're all different in how we do things. That's just, we're not meant to be clones.
Yes.
So I'm not really comfortable going into other people's places because then I need to conform because that I believe is right. That's order, that's respect. I can't go in somebody's place and do what I want, just like they can't come in my place and do what they want. That's very
understandable.
not right. So for me, I don't know if it is so much about going to church, but there is a need for fellowship as with anything else. If you're working somewhere, you have to renew things that you've learned. You need to study over, you need to be with people of like mind and in agreement, etc., etc. I just don't agree with the law aspect of it because it makes you feel very condemned. And I've risen above a lot of the condemnation that's put onto us in religion, whether it's Christianity or other religions. There's always condemnation. I think we live with condemnation. We're so easily condemned, and Jesus Christ took away condemnation from me. I don't know what he did for anybody else.
Right.
I don't live condemned, and I'm very careful not to condemn myself and not to condemn others because it's one of the worst things. And we're supposed to be able to make choices. We were made to make choices. There are always repercussions for the choices that we make. But it's not my business. I will encourage you in something, but I'm not going to put my stuff on top of you.
I agree
so
with that.
Church to me, in meaning the going to church thing, it is important to fellowship, it's important to hang out with people, it's important to have discussions, it's important to study whatever it is that you believe, so that you grow and exactly. But I don't hold to that you have to do anything.
And if you don't attend, then you have backslidden.
You're condemned, whatever. Yes.
Yes.
No. It's not my thing because I'm horribly backslidden.
Based on that, you are a backslider based on that, right?
And then you see, because of the belief that wherever I go, I be Jesus Christ on this earth. I'm an ambassador. I don't have to call his name, and I don't have to hit people with him. I held to that for a long time. I don't have to pray in his name and tag on his name.
Right.
It's just how I saw it was, if I am a representative of Trinidad and Tobago at United Nations, when I speak, it's Trinidad and Tobago speaking. When I walk, it's Trinidad and Tobago walking.
Right.
Whatever I say and do and portray, I am Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
So it's the same thing for me in Christ and how I live.
Yes.
In some ways, I'm an undercover Christian. I don't like the term of Christian because I don't want to be boxed into what people think Christians are about. But I'm definitely undercover in many, many ways. And it's not a bad undercover. I've been trained to be undercover. It can be very hard to be undercover because can't always come out and be who I want to be. But again, it's be whatever to win people. And that doesn't mean I'm pursuing it and I'm running after. It's like I do what I have to do and hands off. So it's just quite different to what I even would have taught long ago. Because I've grown and been enlarged, and I also don't believe that the way I live is for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We all have our roles.
I think
to
we
play.
all have our parts and our
Correct.
purpose, and
Correct.
everyone's journey may
Yep.
not look the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the world
yeah.
is so diverse,
Yep.
you know, and
Yes.
we expect every Christian to be the same and to operate the same. I mean, look at this vast world with so many different history, cultures.
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard for everyone to function the same.
Yeah.
And I think if we all come to that understanding, you know, it's going to have less tension and back and forth and fight about this whole religion thing, because religion is I really
know.
try not to delve into that conversation, because it's really a lot.
But even in every religion, just like in every other sect
Yes.
of life, it's like your body.
Yeah.
Your little toe can't get vexed with the big toe because
Yeah.
they don't see things in the same way and they
Same
don't
way,
function. You know,
yes,
every
yes.
single person is important. And I went through a lot of different things, which I would call training to be the way that I am, because it's not that easy to be so different, you know. So that's why I'm being very clear. I'm not saying this is for everybody.
Yes. I understand.
And I also am much older. I've gone through a lot of things, so it's not like I'm a young person and need guidance. I'm not
Right.
saying I don't need guidance,
Yes.
but I'm not in the same position that I was. And I still make myself accountable for my actions, which is a very important thing. I don't believe anybody can say, I'm only accountable to God. I'm not accountable to somebody on this earth, because I believe in submission. And we have been set up to have a relationship with God, or our source, which is critical and which is our walk. But then we submit to Him, but then we must be accountable to somebody on this earth that we submit to, because that's who keeps the checks and balances. And somebody who doesn't do that can be just very, very dangerous. And that's, to me, is where rebellion and
Right,
insubordination and things
right,
like that
yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why many times people insist on having church, so that you can keep people in a certain thing of, okay, you're in a flock, therefore you're accountable, and I can keep
Right.
grips on you, and I'm responsible for you, you know, which is a very, very big, that's a big role to play.
Yes.
I did pastor, and I didn't take it lightly. I was responsible for people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truth is, for me, anybody who comes into my path, I'm responsible for their life. I'm not going to tell them what to do, but they're still, my life is touching them and their life is touching me. So we're still interacting, we're still rubbing off, and I'm still responsible. And that's, for me, the intimacy with the Lord, or the intimacy, or that intimate relationship. That's the big thing, is that it's not just about going into a building and behaving a certain way at a certain time. I am 24/7 a representative of the kingdom, and have to be aware of that at all times. So it's not about going to church and behaving a certain way, because a lot of people do that. It's a religious observance.
Yeah.
Go to church, behave a certain way, come out and get
Yeah.
on whatever, and then go back into church and behave a certain way.
I think it's a lot to
I'm not
do with
into that.
maturity as well. They're not mature in their walk with God. So it's just more about religion. Okay, I have to do this, I have to do this. But they have not allowed themselves to grow like you allowed yourself to grow and walk with the Lord. So you naturally come to a place where you understand certain things without having to actually follow, okay, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong.
Yeah, it's
because you
natural.
understand Him and what He requires of you, and you know, and you just naturally be that. So I think it has a lot to do with maturity.
It does, and it's also accepting the maturity, accepting responsibility, because I think a lot of people don't want to be responsible.
Right.
But we have to be responsible in everything that we do. If we go to work and we're not doing what we're meant to be doing, we're going to get fired.
Yeah.
You know, I find in religious things that people don't want to be accountable, and they don't want to be responsible. And it's like, you ain't supposed to tell me this and that, you know, and that's, again, is a dangerous thing, because you can't get away with work.
Right.
You know, if you have a boss and you're telling the boss, I'm not listening to you, or you can't tell me what to do, you think you're staying in that job? No way, you're getting fired.
Yeah.
You know, and it's in everything we are responsible when we are accountable. And for me, there's that balance of, I'm always accountable to the Lord, who is my source of life, source, if you want to call, him that, him who is really genderless, which is a whole controversial thing because he encompasses all. If you want to call him source, or whatever you want to call him, the truth is I'm accountable first and foremost, and he knows everything I'm doing. But I still have to be accountable to mankind, because that's the corporate. We have agreement principles on this earth, and that's the corporate agreement of humankind or mankind. And there's also the agreement of me and the Lord. And it doesn't function separately necessarily. It may look so, and it may behave so, and it may appear so, because we have different ideals. But it's supposed to be from the same source. It all comes from the same source. And the love of God is what makes that religion really shouldn't exist as religion, because religion is just something you do by rote. You press the button and it's automatic pilot, like an automatic weapon. And the love is what's supposed to make us operate and flow, but that's where it comes in to be hard, because it's the love that also causes us to question, gives us pain, gives us hurt, and we can't just have the rules and the regulations, because the rules and the regulations are what we're using to guard ourselves from making decisions, from painful things, from having to think stuff out and be broken. So that's what makes this religion thing come into being. It's like, if I set up all of this, I could protect myself. But Christ came on this earth and he didn't protect himself. He lived out all the pain and the hurt, took it all for us, and we can use him to help us not be hurting so much. That's how I live. That's why I say, when I die, if I find out it's stupidness, I'm okay. Because I had a lot of stupidness in my life that had me so screwed up and so messed up, and nobody knew it, because I could behave. I was on a stage 24 hours a day, and I was a clown, I hurt inside, and what I did was I made everybody laugh, and that's how it made me able to live. I don't need to do that anymore. I can be real and true. I can be vulnerable. I can expose myself to things, to make people ridicule me. That's what I call the squeeze. And I think I look amazing concerning how much I've been through.
Of course you look amazing.
And that's the squeeze. It's all that stuff. My thing is the only difference between a lump of coal and a diamond is time and pressure. And then when you have that diamond, then it has the cuts which make it glow and glisten, and so it's what life is about. I don't run from confrontation. I don't run from pain, which is what I used to, because I have someone I can throw the stuff onto. I also don't block things out. That's a very dangerous thing to block, push it down. For me,
we
it's
have
like
to
face
deal
it.
with it. We have to deal with it.
Bring it from the darkness into the light, because once something comes into light, and light is on it, as much as it may freak you out when the light is on it, then at least it's exposed. There can be no shame or condemnation from it. You could feel the shame and the condemnation, but once you've exposed something, there is no shame. If it's when it's inside and you're hiding, then there's shame. And all those things have caused me to not be afraid, because I was very private. I didn't want people to know my business, and the Lord told me I'd have a healing ministry and expose myself, and I thought, okay, cool, everybody that I tell my things to, they would get healed, and nope, it wasn't that, boy. It was like fling it all at me, and I was like, what? I thought it was going to work. And I remember hearing and knowing, all that matters is that you expose yourself for the healing. What they do with it, that's their business. They're accountable to me. You don't have to worry about it. And that was a big lesson from early. I'm not responsible. I've been accused of controlling people, but I'm very careful. I'm not controlling anybody. If you don't want to agree with me about something, that's okay. Even people that I mentored, it's like, we always have to be okay with submitting to someone. You're not supposed to submit out of law.
force.
Yes, exactly, because that's so wrong.
And that is the typical thing now.
It's very, very wrong. You
and
know,
this is why
everybody
we
who
find
submits,
persons tend to, as we would say, backslide or end up, doing what they're not supposed to, because force in itself causes persons to rebel.
Correct.
I believe that. Just the mere fact that you want me to do this and you're saying I have to do this, I think our nature, we just tend to,
Well, we were made with a
rebel
will.
and do our own thing.
Exactly. We were made with a will. We were made with choice.
Yeah.
I can choose what I want. So that then it's alien to me to have someone stand up over me and tell me what to do. And that is why too it's also important to learn to submit, because that's how order comes around.
Yes.
You know, I mean, if all the governmental things and order in our nations and the world, if they wasn't there, we would have chaos. You know?
Yes.
And it's always too, I think, because man is always ready to take control, because we also came from the source of life who has control. So there's also that part of us, we can always take control and we want to take control, but that's why it's also so dangerous, because we have to be able to know, we can submit, we can give and take, we must be teachable, we must be able to learn, we always have to put ourselves in a position to be able to learn from people. And I used to teach very much on submission and serving. As a son of the Most High, I rule and reign, but I'm also a servant, so I have to know how to be able to serve when the time is right, and I also have to know when it's time for me to take charge and say, right, this is it, this is what has to get done. And I used to put myself in a position to go and serve people. Because I didn't like serving, because I'm always from small, I could take control. I was always somewhat just so. Something is happening, a big crisis, I know right away what I have to do. It's like I just would know, and I could go straight into that. And that is also something that could be a dangerous thing, because if we cannot take advice or correction from people or instructions, it is not a right thing.
Yes,
so
that's true.
I always used to put even when I was pastoring and everything, and I was in charge and I could have people going like that, I used to like to put myself in a position to go and serve someone, because what it would bring up in me was like, I don't want to do that, that kind of thing. But I needed to stay humble, and I needed to be where I could take instructions, because we're not always the boss. We're not always in charge.
Is true.
We have to be
you have
flexible.
to have the balance.
Correct. I've trained myself not to dwell on things that could condemn. I believe in seed time and harvest, which is a biblical principle. Whatever we sow and incubate, it must come into being. So that's whatever type of seed and whatever amount of seed. That's for every single thing.
Talk about your piercings and stuff. You're not the typical reverend, right?
No.
So Miss Thing has the nose piercing and the earring piercings, and the undercuts and thing, so talk about that.
Well, when I first had that experience with finding out about Jesus, we were in Speyside, and then we came down to this part of the island, and I started to go to church. And those days I had much less than I do now. But I had a silver hand, a gold hand. I had silver and gold. And then I found out that as a godly woman, I shouldn't wear any jewelry, any makeup, shouldn't wear pants, and all that kind of stuff. Was showing things in the Bible which didn't make sense to me, because it's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, somebody says a man, a woman mustn't wear a man's apparel, and I was like, well, this is not a man's apparel. Back then, we had zippers that went the different way if you were female, and the buttons buttoned up the different way. And I'm also like, in those days, all the men wore dresses. You know what I mean? So like, I don't understand
like
that.
robes.
Yeah. Anyhow, I sort of conformed because, didn't really have a choice. Then we went up to Canada, and then the Lord took me through a whole thing of where I was only allowed to wear dresses and stuff. And this was through some terrible, terrible Alberta weather. And I knew it was preparation to go to as a missionary, because of course wherever we would go, we would have to conform to however people were living, and I had no idea what the plan was. And then we went to different Caribbean islands, but he had released me then, and I did wear pants if I felt to. And then when we were coming back to Tobago, because it was in Tobago, I was put into this whole thing about not wearing certain things. I didn't know that it was like a bondage that I was put into.
Oh, okay.
And all I knew was I had a knot in my belly when my clothes did not come from away. And I didn't have like dresses to wear out and stuff, and I had to wear some pants, and my whole stomach was in knots and all of that. And that's when I found out that I'd been put into bondage over not looking, a certain way. Despite the fact a very sweet woman had told me years before that if she was selling pots and pans, she's going to sell the pots and pans that are nice and shiny. People would buy that. They're not going to buy some grungy pots and pans. Right. Anyhow, that didn't matter. And it was here in Tobago that the Lord really set me free from it. And it was a very enormous principle, because I have a healing ministry. The truth is that if we get hurt in something, the best way of getting healed is to actually get put in the same type of situation and face it and go through it, so you get released from all the past things. Right. So it was here in Tobago he started to dress me very differently.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was piercings and shave my head eventually. Yeah, going into 2000, which was the new millennium. Yeah. Yep. I had my head shaved for some years.
And you're quite comfortable.
Oh, I absolutely love it now. I actually have hair on my head now. At that time was totally shaved. Totally bald. Yeah, well, it was very alien. It was very, because it was because people believed in the Bible where it said a woman mustn't do all these sort of things. But I had so gone beyond all of that. Didn't mean I felt okay with it. I felt horrible. When I would see myself in the mirror, there was something in me that was like, oh my God, who is that person? Because it stuck in me. It was a literal bondage that you shouldn't look like that.
Yes, it will take time.
It was years. So, and then it was also the atmosphere of Tobago and other places. I was not supposed to look like that as a godly woman. Yeah. I was sexy, don't mean... you understand what I'm saying? I was like, I looked like a whore. And people called me a hoe. I mean, people had real issues with me. So there was a lot of shame, but I would not let myself be shamed, or I felt ashamed. But it's that difference of your feelings and what is truth. And truth was, I'm a godly woman, and I know I'm a godly woman, and I could sleep at night knowing I'm a godly woman, and my heart is absolutely pure. So,
well, I would say I remember when before our wedding, and I think Wayne contacted you for us to started counseling, because we were searching for who to use, because we come from two separate religious backgrounds, Christianity, but not the same denomination, right? And so he said, well, he found somebody you like us to meet, and I said, okay. And I remember someone telling me, I gave them your name and I said, we're going to try her. And they said, oh, the lady with the set of piercings. And they're like, you sure? I'm like, well, you know, I'm going to meet with her. And once I can see Christ in her and I feel the connection and the Holy Spirit takes over, yeah, we're going to go with her. That's what I said. Yeah. So I am open-minded. I am not... You know, I think it took me time to get to that place. I believe so as well, you know. You know, the typical person would just see the piercings and be like...
Yeah, I understand
they totally push you away.
Yeah,
no, she's...
I totally understand that.
You know, and I said, no, I'm going to meet with her. And once I, you know, see Jesus Christ in her and I feel the Spirit... Yeah, I'm gonna go with her. And I met with you, I saw you. I'm like, yeah, she's cool, you know. I was like, you know, I'm controversial myself too, yeah. And I felt the Spirit and you guided us and I said, yes, amazing, yeah. And I said, yeah, this is the person. I told him, yeah, we're gonna go with her. And that was it. Yeah.
I know, it's very, very precious. I have reached a place I don't pastor traditionally anymore. I say traditionally because, of course, there's still people that I pastor, but it's different. I'm a grandmother in the natural, so I'm a grandmother in the spiritual. I have no time to wipe bottoms all the time and clean up vomit and all of that, you know, and it's like I have things I want to do, you know, but I have gone to a different level in my mentoring or my pastoring. I'm a lot more impatient. I'm older. And if you don't want to conform, well, go find somebody else or go somewhere else because it's like, you know, life is very, very precious. I don't know how long I may still be on this earth.
Yeah.
And everything that I do is precious. Not to say it wasn't precious long ago, but long ago my seed, I had to give it away a lot more. And I had to cultivate in different places that I wouldn't have chosen to. But that was my role. You know, now... I'm very careful who I speak to, and I'm very careful who I give my seed to, and I'm very careful who I cultivate for and with, because everything comes back for us. You know, this is not just giveaway. Yeah, I give away too. I give away. You know, but this is a lot more precious. You know, thing, and it took me, all what I've gone through has taken me into this too. I teach very deep things.
Right.
As much as I may be quite open, I teach very deep because I don't believe in flitting, and every word that we speak is important everywhere we go, because I represent Christ everywhere. Wherever I be is that He's being manifested there. I don't have to say a word. You know, I can set somebody free from terrible things in their life by just say I know I have to lift something up and put it right back down there. You know, I'm not the normal person where you have to make a set of noise and carry on and everybody knows what I'm doing. That's why I say undercover. I have gone through things where I've set people free from horrible stuff and we're sitting in bikinis on the beach and the people all around and you know, that person ends up weeping deep from inside and I know they're being delivered from awful painful things, you know. So it's so different. It's real and it's 24 hours and it's hands-on, but it's also that thing of knowing what is mine to do. There's a movie that's really a weird movie that I looked at because I don't like cussing and violence.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of it now. It's Denzel Washington. And it starts off with, you know, violence, horrible violence and cussing. But it was really interesting because in this whole thing, he had to get this book after the world had been... Wayne, I don't know if Wayne knows it, but the world was gone through a terrible thing. And he had to get this book. It was over to California eventually. And there were several times when I wondered why didn't he interfere and stop something, because most of the time he was defending people.
Right.
But he was walking to a different drum beat. He was living that thing out of... He would know when he was to interfere, and other times he had to leave it alone. And I loved that movie despite the cussing and the violence, because I went to see it many times. I took people I was mentoring to see it too, because it spoke of my life. Because it's a very hard thing to do what you're supposed to do and not just generalize. And that's where religion comes in, or you know, people telling you should be doing this and the law comes in. To operate by the Spirit and to know when something is right, because you could live with a lot of self-doubt, you know. We're all supposed to know what we're meant to do, and I don't know how people do it without God or source or whatever you want to term that person. I don't use universe, because universe to me is very out there, you know, and doesn't have a personal thing, because my personal thing is majorly important. That fact that I have a being who loves and cares for me no matter what is going on, has my back, that's what makes me live, and that's what makes me be like, go for things that I wouldn't have gone for, because I'm not like this brave, bold person, but I can be very brave, very bold, go into the most horrific situations because somebody has my back. That person adores me. No matter if I may mess up, or I think I mess up, or I really mess up, that person adores me, is much bigger, could do whatever, and will fix me and look after me no matter what. And that's what has made my life come to where it is, and I'm kind of excited too, because I've been sort of in hiding for some years now, very, very careful of what I'm doing. I get to do weddings, which is such an honor and a privilege, to marry people. And,
talk about that.
Well,
that's what you do mainly now.
That's my life now, other than my crafts. That's ministry. For me, that's another thing that was a tremendous growth, because I remember the time when I got a phone call from a wedding planner. He had a Jewish couple here in Tobago. They had just met with the pastor he had booked, and they weren't, they couldn't connect. These were atheist Jews. They did not believe in God
at all,
but they were Jews. And of course, we have this concept, well, they at least would have religion. They did not have religion or anything. And I said, let me check and call you back. Came off the phone, and it's like, right away I'm shooting up. And I heard, dignify them. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? So I called back and I said, well, bring them now, and we'll see if we connect, because that's very important. I used to do wedding photography. We always had to connect. With weddings, I must connect. I'm not marrying anybody I haven't met, and we haven't gotten that we've connected, and we're okay with each other, because already I'm kind of weird looking, I don't want them to stand up there and like, God, who is she? Like, she's marrying me. Once they're okay with me, the people could be thinking what they want. You know what I mean? So he brought the couple. We sat right here. They were here. I was there, and we talked. They told me straight, they're not into Christ. They don't want anybody mentioning Christ. They have a thing with Christian people, and they grew up in a kibbutz or whatever you call the thing. So they never had God at all. And I just knew before they had come that I was to write a poem. That's what I was to do. So I found out how come they landed up in Tobago, and you should hear the whole journey. And the wedding was the next day, and I wrote this poem. It was the weirdest thing, because the week before I wrote a poem, I hadn't written poems in years. And it's called The One That Got Away. And it was, somebody was having a conference, somebody who was originally from Tobago, she was having a conference in New York, for women who've been abused. And I've helped out a lot with that in past years. And this poem came out of me, and I just wrote it down. It's really incredible. And so it was like, I knew I was to write a poem. So it's like, well, if I wrote a poem last week, I'm sure I could write a little something for their wedding too, because I didn't want it to be, it couldn't be that I used the Bible, And I did. It was down on Pigeon Point Jetty. I was blown away. It wasn't a long poem, but it even said the whole journey, how they reached to Tobago, because they did all kinds of things to get here, why they decided to come, of all places, from Israel to Tobago to get married. And that was the start of an opening up in my life, because for me, I used to tell my husband, you can't marry anybody if you can't use the Bible and all that kind of stuff.
So how did you really conduct the wedding without, you didn't use the Bible?
I just did the poem.
Just the poem.
No opening prayer, nothing like that. Well, I never was that I have to pray, because my prayer is talking. And as I said, I don't have to tag on Jesus. I talk to the Lord. So prayer to me is just normal. But I always meet with couples and ask what they would like. I'm marrying them. I'm not converting them. I'm not doing a church service. I'm
Okay.
not doing a Bible study.
Yes.
So it's always about, what are you about? How did
Okay.
you all meet? How you all know each other? So it's a very
Right.
personal thing, as you would know because you all went through that.
Okay. Yeah.
But it then led me into where I do non-religious weddings. I marry
Okay.
people who are Muslim and Christian, Muslim and Hindu, atheists, agnostics,
Interesting.
and what I do is, first they have to know I am a Christian minister. That's who I represent. Once they're cool with that, okay, and then I do a neutral type of a ceremony, but it's very spiritual. It's very loving. It's very personal, and it's
I'm
very.
going to ask you a question. Would you or have you ever married a gay couple?
No.
Would you ever
that
marry a
well?
gay couple?
How it stands right now, I'm a marriage officer, which is of Trinidad and Tobago. I didn't just
Right.
sign a piece of paper and go online and sign myself up and got that. I went through quite a process
Okay.
to be sanctioned. My certificate is up there. And it's a whole thing of Ministry of National Security and all sorts of things that they checked all my background, who I was. So I hold that very dearly. Also, now, well, for some years now, long ago, any pastor or minister could sign like a passport form as a recommender. For some years now, the only person that can sign is if they are a marriage officer.
Okay.
So for me, marriage officer, me marrying people, all of that is like way high. It's like, wow. To do wedding photography was wow. To coordinate weddings and do everything for them was wow. To marry people is wow. So the law of Trinidad and Tobago does not have that two people who are homosexual
sex.
can get married.
Okay.
I would never do anything that
Right.
messes with me
Okay.
as a marriage officer.
Okay.
My own personal beliefs, I haven't fully arrived at things as yet. I feel that something may tug at my heart and I may do it, but I can't do that anyhow because I don't want to jeopardize
Yes.
who I am now as a
Okay.
marriage officer and
I
the
understand.
role that I play, and that is my life. If it comes up sometime down the line, then I have to think, pray seriously,
yeah.
and know, do
How
I have
you-
the permission
yeah.
to do that? Is that what I'm
Right.
meant to do, etc.,
Right.
etc.?
Right.
But
Okay.
right now,
Yes.
no, I wouldn't
Okay.
touch that in any way at all because
Okay.
it just doesn't exist. It's
Okay,
not
right.
a part of any consideration
I
in my
understand.
life. Yeah.
So, what advice or how would you guide us women with our spiritual journey? Particularly with us going through issues, different issues that we face. What kind of advice would you give to us to go through these issues, having a relationship either with Jesus Christ or just having a spiritual well-being? What would you say to us pertaining to that?
For me, I don't know how people live without knowing about him. And I'm not talking about Bible, whole of the Bible. It's more like people say you should study this one and study that one. For me, it's like study Jesus Christ. The love that he lived out, the things that he did, his principles and everything. That's what keeps me going. And one of the biggest things is non-judgmentalism. He said he did not come to condemn. So how do I condemn? So that love that I'm absolutely certain about, and knowing that I am loved so completely that anybody could say whatever they want about me, even me against my own self, which I don't do. I've learned that a long time, that I must love myself, I must accept myself, even the things that I'm still working at. For me, I don't know how anybody could live without him.
Right.
So I would have to come from that angle, of having that intimate relationship with Jesus Christ, which means all day long, and from way back when, how we talk to ourselves, like if we're going for an interview, we'll do the interview in our head. somehow when we moved from Speyside to down Bonacord Way, which was soon after I gave my life to the Lord, this thing came to me. Instead of talking to myself in my head, talk to the Lord.
Right.
And that became my life. I carry him everywhere. I flow naturally, which is what I'd always wanted to arrive at. I flow naturally in a connection. And as much as I'm challenged very often as to if my connection is truth, most times people have to kind of bite dust and admit that I was right. Not that I'm going to carry on about it because, yeah, I know and I don't doubt it anymore. I think we have to arrive at loving ourselves. And to me, the only way that you could arrive at that is knowing that there's somebody much bigger, much greater, who loves you no matter what you do and accepts you no matter what. And then from that comes then I can accept myself even when I mess up or think I mess up or whatever. And that's what gives me peace. I've also trained myself because I used to suffer with depression, though I didn't know that's what it was. I've trained myself not to dwell on things that could condemn. I believe in seed time and harvest, which is a biblical principle. Whatever we sow and incubate, it must come into being. So that's whatever type of seed and whatever amount of seed. That's for every single thing.
Yes.
So I'm very careful not to incubate something that could cause depression. Like when a thought comes into my head about something that hits me in the core of my belly and I feel to die, I'm not going to sit on that and incubate that and allow all that stuff to come into me and revolve around me. And I deal with a lot of it because I'm also very sensitive. I can pick up people's feelings. I can pick up things in the atmosphere. I could pick up stuff people are thinking about me, and I could pick up their stuff. I'm very, very sensitive. I found out years ago that what I thought was all my stuff that got me depressed, it wasn't at all.
I learned that recently.
Yes, wasn't at all. It's other people's things.
Yes.
And
That is a
I've
serious
also
thing.
learned, and I know I'm not digressing. I know there's a reason I'm saying this. I've also learned that when people have, like, when we give people rights into our life, they can real manipulate us. And that can be great manipulation, it could be bad manipulation. You know, like if you love somebody or you've allowed them timing or whatever, people can mess with us and we don't know that. They may not be doing it in a bad way. Some people could be. But you know, they can, you know, stuff, because we came from this earth, so we pick up on things. And hopefully this helps somebody who is sensitive or who's always wondering, where did that thought come from, or why am I feeling that way?
They say you pick
whatever
up
way you want to put it, I
energy.
see it as airwaves.
Okay.
And I very much believe in that. It's airwaves passing through.
Right.
And you may be a receptacle that's more easily tuned in.
Right.
You know, or you may be a receptacle that has some real broken pieces. And then you could also pick up on what you have no right to be picking up on. Whether it is that you're sensitive because you are a spiritually sensitive person, or because you are a broken person, you've had things that hurt. You can be picking up on stuff you have no right to be. So for me, the biggest thing for me is not to dwell on the things that could get me down, to always be talking positively, facing the negative stuff, never running away from it, but also knowing I have somebody much bigger than me, much greater than me, who leads me, directs me, guides me, and takes me where I have to go. And so I'm an overcomer, you know. I'm an overcomer.
And there's so much that we could go into, but we just don't have the time, you know. But I believe I will bring you on the show again to delve into some other things, because I know you have more to share to encourage us women.
Thank you.
Yes. So it has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Same with my That's you.
And being with you again in the same space where, you know, we did our counseling sessions and
lovely.
stuff. Yes. So I think you're a really dynamic woman.
Thank you.
And you have been a
Likewise.
blessing to us, my husband and I.
Thanks.
Yes, you know, we have 3 daughters and stuff.
I know, it's such a blessing.
Yes, and we did talk about having babies and all that in the counseling. Yeah. Yes, so it has been a pleasure speaking with you. You can also look into the camera and tell our viewers where you're located to contact you for your services, your wedding services, or also counseling or whatever they may need. Yeah, so you can look into this camera. And
so I actually have a Facebook page, but if you just Google marriage officiant in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm sort of at the top there. You'll find me, Christine Jackson Hart, and you can just email me. I don't counsel as much as I used to. I'm very careful about that, but you can also send something if you wish, if you're desperate, and we'll see if it's meant to be. I am available once it's what I'm meant to be doing. Very careful about it. Bless you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Khadija. It was lovely.
So we're gonna take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Sister Talk with Khadija. I am your host, Khadija Nelson John. Today's episode is called Namaste. And our second guest is Lindsay Hall.
Thank you for having me.
Hi Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Are you nervous?
A little bit, but I roll with the punches.
So, you know, with the name of the show, I guess that you would realize what our second guest is all about. She is a yoga instructor. And I just want to add that Lindsay and I go way back. We know each other since we are like, what, 5-6 years old?
6, somewhere in there.
Yes, so we basically know each other all our lives. We have some history. We danced together almost all our lives.
Yeah.
We traveled together. We went on a dance scholarship together, stayed in the same
New York.
room.
Yeah, we went to New York.
Yeah, so we go way back and we have a relationship. Well, we haven't seen each other in ages,
In a
but
while.
we've had,
Yeah.
you know, a relationship
Throughout our whole childhood.
throughout our whole basically childhood, teenage years. Yeah, so, you know, this is just like
Old
catching up.
friends, yeah, basically.
We're gonna be catching up today, yeah. So Lindsay, tell me about your, you know, being a yoga instructor, because I know you to be a dancer, and that's how we started off. And then I know you went away to study dance, and then you came back, and then you're doing yoga.
Right. So
How did that happen? Yeah.
So as you said, I went to New York. I went to school for dance, and then I danced professionally after that. And throughout my schooling and when I was dancing professionally, yoga was kind of something that I did on and off. Took classes just to kind of build strength and stuff to support my dancing. And then there was a time back in like 2013, New York life, dancer life, very hectic, very stressful, and I actually got a little bit injured, and my stress and anxiety was really high, and actually it was yoga, breathing, simple breathing exercises, simple yoga poses that actually like was the turning point in me feeling better. And that's when I decided to move back. I was like, New York isn't for me, and I was like, let me become a yoga instructor. You know, I can't really dance here, so maybe I can teach yoga and help other people feel good as well.
So you said you started doing yoga poses, stretches. How did you learn about it to even begin doing it? Did you do classes with yoga while you were away?
In the beginning, I'm trying to remember. I had one dance teacher. I remember one dance teacher early up when I first moved, came in, and he was also a yoga instructor. And he was like, today we're going to do yoga. And we did it. That was the first time I ever really did yoga. And then after that, taking classes, a friend of mine in New York became a yoga instructor, so she liked to like give us a few things to do, like when she was doing her teacher training and stuff like that. So just kind of in between here and there, going to classes, friends that do like in the dance sphere, like everybody does yoga, Pilates, or you know, so it's kind of this thing that you just kind of know about.
Right,
around the place.
school
And then you
that
take
it
classes.
was at Ailey, Alvin
Ailey,
and they
cool.
do you know, Pilates and these
They
things.
do have. They did have a yoga class as part of the curriculum. I didn't take that class then, actually.
Ironically.
Yeah, right. I didn't take it then, But it was supposedly, I remember other kids saying it was really good.
Yeah.
But it was more afterwards. I went to classes and things and got into it a little bit. But it wasn't really until later when I had that little injury episode and anxiety that I really like got into it, because it really helped me a lot physically with my body, but then also with my anxiety.
And at that point, you were just doing it based on what you would have known your friends do?
Well, I went to classes. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you become an instructor? How did you become certified?
Right. So I moved back to Tobago, and actually my sister-in-law sent me an article or something, I can't remember. And it was like, there's this yoga school in Trinidad that's doing teacher training, and so I looked into it, and I didn't even know anything about anything, and I was just like, I'm gonna do that. I was like, it seems legit. I knew nothing. And I decided to do it, and it was actually 6 weeks intensive where you had every day for like 9 hours, just learning yoga. And it was a 500-hour teacher training, and it was Yoga Alliance certified, and it was Sangha Yoga Trinidad for anybody who's interested. And yeah, that's how
the trainers are from Trinidad.
Yeah, the lady's Karen Blackman, and she's from Trinidad, trained in Toronto, and has a yoga studio and does teacher trainings and things. So yeah, actually right in Trinidad is where I did my teacher training. Yeah.
Okay, nice, excellent.
Yeah.
So what does yoga mean to you?
Oh,
is
goodness.
it because everybody has their own connection to yoga?
Oh, for
is
sure.
It for exercise? Is it for spiritual connection?
For me,
is it for balance?
It's for all of it in a way. It's like a kind of, it's a practice. So it's not something that you do once and then that's it. Like, it's something that it kind of runs alongside your life. So I do it to help my body. Strength-wise, flexibility, to stay active. But in the process of doing that, I find that it helps my clarity of mind. It helps me manage stress of daily life. It helps me just connect to myself, just a time for me to see what's happening with me. What do I need? Do I need more sleep? Do I need different food? And during that time, I can kind of feel, when I'm practicing, I can kind of feel what I feel, and from there know if I'm okay or if I need to do something different to make myself feel okay. So it's really a self-care practice for me on all levels.
Okay, does it have any connection with God for you in terms
for
of
me,
spirituality?
it helps me connect. Well, my whole view on that might be a little different than other people.
And that's fine.
Yeah, so I see things as there's a universal energy, a higher power. I don't necessarily call it God, but you'd call it what you want. And it does help me connect to that energy within myself. It's a time for me to really be quiet. And yoga means yoking, and an interpretation of that is union. So you're unifying body, mind, spirit. You're connecting them, and you're not saying the mind is over here doing this and the body's over there doing that. But it's a time for you to connect to all of it as one being. We are one being, and all these parts of ourselves are connected and integrated. They don't exist separate from each other. So when I practice body, mind, spirit, all of emotions, all
everything
of it
comes into
it. Yeah. And depending on the day, it might be more physical. Depending on the day, it might be more spiritual. Again, it that's the beauty of yoga, is that it has that flexibility to make it what you need for that time.
And so this is why you're probably so calm. Well, it was like the easiest guest to get on the show.
That's what you're saying.
It's almost as if she's just floating. And I'm like, oh, and I'm having and she's just like, okay, she's just cruising, and I'm like, wow, okay.
Well, I guess that's part of the practice, is to accept what comes. So if things need to change, then you deal with the change as it needs to happen, and having a big reaction to it doesn't make a difference to the fact that things
I say
change.
The same thing.
You know what I mean? Like,
you're just stressing yourself out, and then the situation is still the same.
Exactly.
So then,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Okay. So it's not really like an outer body experience. I've heard so many things about yoga. You don't experience that, Chris.
I mean, it could be. It depends on the person. It depends on the experience. It depends on if you have a teacher that's leading you in a certain direction. I remember one of the stressful time for my life is when I was transitioning from being a student in New York, a dance student, to professional, and I was applying for the visas, and the States is crazy for all that, and it was really like, oh my god, am I going to get this visa? Am I going to stay? Do I have to leave? And my friend, as I said, she was doing her yoga teacher training, so I went to one of her classes, and we were doing the class, and in the very beginning, sometimes you do this thing called the Om. The whole class just goes Om. And I remember in that moment, something about the sound and the voices, and it was so simple. I wasn't expecting it, and I started to cry. It was just like the release of the tension and the stress. And then later on in that same class, because she knew me, it was me and my friend, she knew us, she came over and gave us like little massage in one of the poses, and again I was just like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. It's just one of these things where so it depends on you where you're at. You might have different experiences.
Okay, nice. So, well, you hear a little accent. She's originally from Canada. Yeah, correct.
I was born there, but I grew up in
Tobago. Basically, all her life. Yeah. I call her Tobagonian.
Thank you.
Really, but but she grew up here all her life. Yeah. So you are Tobagonian.
Yes.
Where is your business located? Do you do this full time?
This is my main thing. I wouldn't say I do it full time in that I'm teaching like 100 classes a week. So I teach at Kerouac Hotel. I have 2 classes there, Mondays and Wednesdays in the evening. So,
and what else?
And I do also private classes for people who want that. People sometimes hire me for like an event or something.
But this is your career.
For now, yeah. This is what I plan. If you want to go into that little segue, I'm planning to maybe go back to school to do more something called kinesiology, which is the science of human movement. And get into maybe more of a therapy type role with the yoga. So you're doing yoga therapy, where I would really work with an individual using yoga to help them through physical challenges, pain. Kind of lifestyle coaching stuff.
That's
nice. So I have that plan.
So you do love doing yoga, teaching yoga, making it your lifestyle, making it your career, your path, your purpose.
And actually something that I've been thinking about is integrating some of the things that I learned from yoga and helping other dancers, because it's some of the stuff that I wish I knew when I was even as a teenager, in terms of strength, in terms of mindset, in terms of just general health. So just kind of giving back to the dancer community, that's something that I'm actually looking into as well.
Nice. Yeah. So, well, women, we have so many stressors on a daily basis, right? Especially the modern day woman. How would you say that yoga, or how would you say I recommend yoga for these types of women? Well, why would you say that?
Being a mother of a 2.5-year-old, first child, yoga has given me, at least, and also women who have come to my classes, a space where it's just for you. As a mother, as a woman in general, if you're married, not married, generally, we're very giving. We're thinking about other people. The kids have to go to school. What are they going to eat? Who has to be where? Work? All these things. And it's really a time for you to just be with you and take care of you, what you need to do. So I've had students come and they don't feel necessarily up for all the poses, and they just lay there and just like, oh, I just need this space.
Right.
Or you participate, or it's really just a time for you to do what you need to do for you. And maybe you push yourself, because I do like to do strength stuff, or maybe you pull it way back and it becomes more of a kind of restorative practice. And so it's really, that's what I would say. It's a time for you to give yourself what you need, because you're always, women tend to give other people what they need, and then we're lacking, and then so that's what I would say.
Okay. And with starting instructing yoga in Tobago, how was that? How did you get a good reception?
Yes, I get new people calling me all the time, like, really interested. I want to see what this is about, or they come and say I'm either I have back pain or something like that, or they come on the other side of the spectrum, I have anxiety, and I heard yoga is good for that. And I've had a few students come to me and say, since they started and did it for a few weeks, that it's really helped them manage stresses at work. And they notice when they miss a week or they miss 2 weeks, and they're like, oh my god, I really need to get back to yoga.
Yeah, because I was now going to ask, how often should we do yoga to stay or to keep and maintain that balance?
A couple times a week. It doesn't have to be every day, you know,
Okay.
2-3 times a week maybe. I mean, I teach twice a week, and some of the things that I teach you can go home and do on your own. There are lots of things on YouTube that you can find. Yeah, it doesn't have to be something that you have to do every day, and if you miss a day, you know, again, make it your own. Like when I had my daughter and she was a lot younger, I couldn't practice every day. Like it just didn't happen. But I did it when I could, and it was enough, you know? So it's one of those things that you make do with what you have, and you'll see benefits, you know. But yeah, 2 or 3 times a week would be
you would
ideal.
Say,
Yeah. But yeah.
And what about women who are, let's say, disabled? They can't sit on the ground. They can't do those different types of things.
Well,
is there a type of
actually there's something that's
exercise
coming out now called chair yoga that you can find online. I personally don't do a lot of chair stuff just because I haven't trained in it. I don't know too much.
Okay.
There's chair yoga, but besides that, something that I also wanted to sneak in there is that a lot of people think of yoga and they think of just the poses, the physical stuff.
Yeah.
But really, that's like one corner of yoga.
That's actually what I was trying to get at. Is there like some kind of mantra they could say or song?
That's actually
or
one limb. Well, there's different kinds of yoga, and that's a whole other conversation. But that's one limb, the asana, the poses. There's meditation, there's breath work, there's just simply how you talk to yourself, what you think of yourself, and noticing that, how you interact with others. There are different practices within each of these sections. You train in that
aspect as well?
Yeah, we talk about all these things in the training. Specifically meditation and pranayama, which is the breath work. And if, you know, moving wherever you can move, if you need to be seated, if you can get to the floor, wherever you are, however much you can move, that's great. Besides that, you don't need to move. You can close your eyes and do your meditation. You can work on your breath. Yeah. And actually the breath alone can do wonders for any kind of stresses, anxiety, depression, just working on different breathing techniques.
Right.
There are lots of different techniques for different things. Can be, even that alone, just breath work is huge for finding mental clarity and reducing stress and anxiety and things like that.
That's excellent. Yeah. So women, any type of woman, well, from what she's saying, whether you're disabled, whether you're not, there is something for you when it comes to yoga that can help you, you know, stay balanced throughout life and, you know, lessen on the anxiety and stress and that kind of thing. Right. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Bend one knee, bend the other, kind of shifting your weight side to side. Nice, and then reaching both heels to your mat. Ears in line with your arms. Take a few deep breaths here. Deep breath in. Slow deep breath out through the nose. Let's do one more. Deep breath in, slow inhale. From here, you're going to lower the knees to the mat, and we're going to finish off in child's pose. Bring your big toes together, so not crossing the ankles, just big toes together, hips as far back as they'll go, and then rest your forehead down to the mat. And again, breathing in and out through the nose. Ready, walking the hands in. Let's come to a comfortable seat. Swing the legs around. Bring the hands to heart center.
Welcome back, guys. We're doing a little yoga. First time doing yoga.
Okay, inhale, circle the arms high. Exhale, walk the hands forward. Nice. Just taking a few breaths here. Nice. Just walk the hands back. Plant the hands behind you. Plant the feet on your mat. Nice. Press the hips up. You can do it. Nice. And down. And cross the legs again. Nice.
Sit. Namaste.
Yeah. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. See you next time on Sister Talk with Khadija.